Neeti, welcome to our channel Kokuandmini. It is a
Hi,
pleasure to have you.
Kokuandmini.
So, Neeti, I wanted to know you're doing such a noble cause by helping the unprivileged, the needy with so much food and so much what they require. What kind of a passion or motivation did you get to start this?
So I'll tell you, it started on a very small note. Last year, when the lockdown was announced on the 24th of March, we and a couple of friends got together. And since I was from the restaurant industry, I thought that we would start giving meals. And I cooked 1,200 meals in my restaurant. And we didn't know what the ground situation would be because nobody knew at that time. And just 3 days after that, on 27th of March, when we went out with 1,200 meals, trust me, even 12,000 would have been less. And that's when we realized, the intensity of the situation, the desperation, the hunger, because India is almost 60% daily wage earners and they were left with no
Yeah.
jobs. So we decided to ramp up our operations. It was difficult because we were an unorganized group. So one was a software consultant, one was a lawyer, one was a restaurateur, one was a social activist, but we all put our synergies together. Anyways, we wanted to really help out. And when we saw the pain of people, we actually felt that this is the need of the hour. And God willing, in a week's time, we were able to ramp up to 10,000 meals. And you won't believe it, in about 2 weeks' time, we were doing 1 lakh meals a day. So there were a lot of corporates who came forward. We got a team of 600 volunteers in place. So we wanted the time lapse to be very less between the food that is made and distributed because it was too hot and the food would get spoiled. So we got a whole team in place. And in fact, there's been a research also by the London School of Economics on how a group of unorganized people have organized operations of that scale in a lockdown when nothing was available.
Absolutely. So just to give you an example, I help a lot as well. So I'm a part of a couple of NGOs and just out of passion. So we reached out to Rambo Circus and we wanted to help them out. But before we could do anything, I think your team was so proactive.
Yeah,
You guys were already there and they're like, we are so happy. We don't want anybody else to get in touch with us.
So, we were supporting Rambo Circus for almost 9 months. We had adopted all the sex workers. In fact, they were the worst affected. And it's like a taboo that people don't want to, even go in those areas or talk to them.
Correct.
But we personally went there. We distributed sanitary napkins. We gave them ration kits. So these sex workers also have kids who are kept in BMC night shelters. So we took charge of all the night shelters. There are about 800 kids who we adopted. Then we took charge of 32 orphanages. So we were taking care of their food, ration, milk, biscuits, everything. So a lot was going on, and I wouldn't say that we did it alone. Everyone came in together. We were really, really funded by some very generous corporate houses and friends and family, and that's how it came together. So we were just the mediums to put it all together.
That's
And I'll
really
tell you,
commendable.
and I'll tell you how Ghar Bejo started. So one day, me and Sonu were distributing food, and we were coming back when we saw a group of migrants walking. So I said, Sonu, let me get down and ask them what's happening, because that time also nobody knew that the migrants are walking and they started migrating back. So he said, "नहीं नहीं मैं भी उतरता हूँ." I said, "नहीं, you are an actor. You will get like kind of crowd will gather. Let me ask them." But he said, "नहीं नहीं कुछ नहीं, I'll get off." So we both got down. We spoke to them. They were going to Ranchi. They were going to walk 1,800 kilometers, and they were sure that they were going to reach their hometown, because they were like, if we don't die here, we're going to die on the road. We are anyways going to die. So we rather die on the way that we tried meeting up with our families. And there were tears in their eyes. They hadn't eaten for 2 days. They were thrown out of the houses because they didn't have rents to pay for those slums. So we convinced them that just stay under the bridge. It was a group of about 500 people, and we will try and send you back. So it was like very difficult to convince, but Sonu being there, they got a little convinced. Immediately we arranged some food for them. And as soon as we sat in the car, I was like, Sonu, we've told them we'll send them back. There's not a single rickshaw available on the road. How are we going to send 500 people? He's like, we'll manage something. You won't believe it. The next 48 hours, we must have called at least 100 transport companies, and everybody told us that, listen, we have the buses, but we don't have the drivers. Somebody told us that we have the staff, but obviously we can't risk our vehicles in the lockdown. The police is going to break them down. There'll be lathi charge and all sorts of things. Finally, we came across a person who had a fleet of 120 buses, who agreed on humanity grounds that he will do it for us at cost, but we will insure the buses, that in case any of the buses gets broken down, we will reimburse the cost. I said, done, let's do this. So the next challenge was, finding the permissions, because we didn't know. It was like hitting an arrow in the dark. Who do you call for permissions?
Yeah, right.
That was another task. I'm sure you must have heard about how
Yes,
the permissions and all
absolutely.
went about. So
No,
I don't
we
want to
watched
repeat
every
that.
bit of it on television. The
Okay.
news was all over there that the
So
way
after
guys
about,
had helped them.
so after about 6-7 days, we managed to finally put everything together, and the first set of buses left. And my God, I don't think I've ever felt so happy in my life.
Absolutely.
And I realized that the final journey is the journey back home, and
Correct.
there's nothing more important than that.
True. That's so true.
So that's how it all started.
That's really nice. So coming back to the restaurant venture of yours, what inspired you to get into hospitality?
So I'm actually a chartered accountant and not a restaurateur. But about a decade ago, I was very bored doing what I was doing, numbers and accounts and stuff. And I was working in my husband's company, and nothing like, you're taken for granted. Whether you go to the office or one day you don't go, nobody really misses you. So I was like, I need to do something of my own. And I was always a very social person, not that I knew anything about restaurants. So I tried my hand at a restaurant called Nom Nom, and that was in Bandra, which is still there, and it's been like a decade now doing
I've
well
been
for
there
us.
a number of times.
Oh, you have. So
Yes.
that's how I went into the hospitality, and then on the job I learned the accounting side, the cost control, all those things were anyways natural to me. But the management, the operations, the kitchen part of it, I learned on the job, and then in the next 3 years I opened another one, then another, and that's how it grew.
So Neeti, are you a tea lover or a coffee lover?
So I'm actually a tea lover. Coffee, in fact, I feel it's very strong for my system, and it just gives me very strong cramps. So I have 1 cup of tea every day, like a typical masala tea with all the, but I don't use any powders and all. So the fresh adrak, fresh mint, all of that grinded together with like nice tea leaves. The tea leaves which I use are very basic. So I have a lot of staff from Guwahati. So they bring these fresh dried leaves for me. I just boil them in water along with just adrak, honey, and the other things. And that is what keeps me going for the next 24 hours.
It's
So
really
in the
nice.
evening, I have 1 cup and I'm good to go.
Any specific food combination that you prefer with your tea?
I normally don't have anything, but I think muska chai bun is something which really goes well. And Bombay could do with a cafe which would specialize only in muska bun and chai.
Absolutely. So maybe coming back to, you changing your career from being a CA to restaurant. What are the challenges you faced, to be an entrepreneur? What do you think the qualities which are required by an individual?
Yeah, I'll tell you, for a woman, a transition is very difficult because there's a lot of resistance, first of all, from the family itself, because they fail to believe that you will be able to do something which you've not done. So that was one of the biggest challenges that I faced, was to convince everyone. And secondly, you are never taken seriously even by your own staff or your colleagues until you prove yourself. So they think, oh yeah, they're just doing time pass and all, and the restaurant is going to shut in 6 months and they're going to run off. So, it's a very basic thing. Like, you're not taken seriously in any kind of business if it's a woman until you prove yourself. So, proving yourself is the biggest challenge, I feel. And for that, you need to believe in yourself. So, just a germination of an idea is not enough. So, you need to have the right direction, you need to have the right perception, the right thinking, and obviously the right action at the right time. So, there is a timing for everything. Sometimes we get so frustrated and we say, oh Arjun, let's just do this, but maybe it's not the right time and the right thing to do.
Right.
So patience is one virtue which I think every budding entrepreneur should keep in mind. Patience is a virtue we cannot lose. So I think when you follow your passion, when you have these right qualities, when you think right and you take the right decision, success is bound to follow.
So, being a tea lover, Neeti, have you ever thought that any of your restaurants should be offering only tea or coffee as well?
So I have a restaurant called Madras Diaries. Over there, we serve the masala tea just as how I like it, and the customers love it too. And we do filter coffee, which is absolutely authentic filter coffee, like how you would get in South
Filter
India.
coffee is my favorite as well.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it is something which I really like. So these two things I really promote at the restaurant because they're very different and they're very light also. Both, even filter coffee is very light on the stomach, but it is strong to an extent to give you that high.
So, Neeti, you being an entrepreneur, if you could share one tip with our viewers that they should have as a quality to start off as an entrepreneur, specifically for a cafe.
For a cafe,
Yeah.
I think the right opportunity. So rather than jumping into anything, it's the right opportunity. When it strikes, it will all happen. Everything will fall in place. No matter how hard we try to make things happen, only when the opportunity is right for you, it will happen. And maybe we should not push things beyond a point because they are not meant to be. So if we keep this in mind, we'll never take a wrong decision. And I think everyone can be successful in what they do, provided they do a good research on what they are getting into. And I think success is bound to follow.
That's nice.
That's
So how are you trying to cope up with the restaurants now in the current lockdown status?
So, there's a saying that when the tides change, adjust your sails. So, that's exactly what I'm doing. So, I've shifted my focus from Bombay to Alibag. And because everyone is now staying in the villas in Alibag, so I'm doing a lot of caterings, home deliveries, private events, sending my chefs to people's homes to cook. So, at least they earn revenue and the cycle keeps going. And plus, deliveries are on at all the restaurants. So, the basic costs are being met, and I'm just trying to tide this wave, because last 7-8 months we all kind of adjusted and we had moved on and things were like back on track. But this blow has been really hard on the hospitality industry. And even the landlords, like, they have been very very supportive, but this time around everyone is like, we've supported enough, now even we need to rush. So it's not been easy, but I think rather than crying over spilled milk, we need to see what we can do to salvage the situation and to stay afloat in this time. So I'm trying to capture new markets like Karjat, Lonavala, Alibag with deliveries, with sending chefs. So it's kind of keeping us afloat.
That's really nice, Neeti. That's really nice to do something in the business. And the best part is that your staff, which is there, you're taking care of them completely as well and giving them opportunities in these hard times too.
Yes.
So thank you, Neeti, for joining us on the show, Kokuandmini. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we've had some great insights from your end on the restaurant and the noble causes that you've done. Seeing everything on television and meeting the person who've done it behind the scenes is really commendable. I mean, we as viewers see it on TV, okay, Sonu Sood has sent this one home, that one home, but knowing who all are there along with him, the entire effort really counts well. And I hope through our medium, everyone gets to know.
absolutely.
Guys, Neeti Goyal has been the one, along with Sonu Sood, in the possibility of sending people home and making them happy.
Thank you, Coco and Minnie, for having me over. And guys, log on to the page Coco and Minnie on Instagram and see this live.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.